So basically, I just start off with a circle. And I'm not really trying to get a perfect circle at the moment, but I tend to just start out with something like this. Now, if you feel more comfortable, you can use a stencil to draw a circle with, but after a while, I used to use a stencil, but after a while I got comfortable with drawing circles like this, or ovals, or whichever shape that you want your head to be in. My camera is... there we go. So once you get the shape that you're looking for, you can always play around with this. Like after you learn how to draw one face, then you can kind of get an idea of how you can change around the shapes and everything to continue making your own characters if that's what you choose to do. The next line that I draw would be from the top of the head. The top of the head, and that's going to go right straight down the center. Just going to let my camera focus there. So we're going to start at the top, in the center, and we are going to work our way down. Now you could definitely use an eraser, because as you can a ruler, sorry. As you can see here, my line is not perfectly center, but I'm okay with that. But you can, you know, find halfway with your ruler, draw your line. Just as I mentioned, keep your lines soft. Don't draw them in too hard. So the second thing that you're going to do, or the third thing, I guess, that you're going to do is you're going to place the eyes, which are usually toward the center of the circle. So I'm just going to pick a place, because I'm so comfortable with drawing my characters now, I kind of move my eyes around in certain places. So for this character, I usually turn my paper as well when I'm drawing, and I apologize for the shadow on my paper today. It's really gloomy outside, so I'm using all my lights here in my little studio to get the proper lighting here. So I am going to pick right here. I'm just going to draw my line across like that, and it's a little crooked. And then you're going to half this again, and that's where your nose will be located. And then you're going to half the bottom again, and that's where your lip will be. Okay, again, if you feel more comfortable using the ruler to draw out your lines, you can certainly do that as well. So I'm just going to fix up some of my lines here. And you know, a lot of different people have different drawing techniques. These are mine. In no way am I saying these are the proper, correct way to do things, but this is how I do things. So this is how I get my characters to come to life. Okay, so once you get all of your lines drawn in, what I usually start with is the nose. So I usually draw a circle on the nose just like so. Okay, and on the nose you're gonna have nostrils. So this is gonna, I draw a little bump on that side, and I draw a little, almost like flower petals, like half flower petals, and then the circle meets in the center. And then for the side of the nose, we're just going to draw some little bumps there, kind of like sideways C's, I guess. And that's going to be the extension of the nostrils. And usually I just put a line on the top of the nose like so. So then the next thing to do would be to draw in the eyes. Now usually when you draw eyes, it's best to do them both at the same time, and depending, I don't draw realistic characters whatsoever, so my eyes are more towards the outside of the head rather than closer to the inside. Now it's completely up to you. If you feel comfortable with placing your eyes in different places, that's completely fine. But what you need to remember that wherever you put your eye, there should be enough room in the center for a third eye. But basically, I just start by making some circles here, or ovals, sorry, and I do them both at the same time. Now they probably won't stay this way, and you know, I kind of just go over them just until I get two shapes that look pretty similar together. And you can always go back and change them later. I bring down the center, and this is going to be the tear ducts right here and right here. So that's going to be the tear ducts of the eye. And then you're just going to swoop over with your pencil, and that's going to make your tear duct. So that's the corner of your eye. And you do the same thing on both sides. Just like so. Okay, so then the next thing I do is I make the line for the bottom of the eye. Now you can make this straight, or you can, you can curve it down however you feel comfortable. I'm just going to go with more of a straight line today, I guess. And I always square out the back side of my eye. So this is more of a semi-straight line, I guess you could say. It's not straight and it's not curved. It's just, if that makes sense. And then what I normally do is I take this line and I bring it over and I connect it with the line that I made my tear duct with. So that's pretty much the shape of the eyes. Now a trick that I've just recently learned, if you wanna make sure your eyes are completely, in the right spot, the same height as one another, you can always, use your ruler, measure it out, make sure, this eye is the same length as this eye, and so forth. But technically, well, I don't usually get that technical with things, it is what it is. But I've also learned that if you flip your paper upside down and you see your eyes from a different angle, you can definitely see that this eye is smaller than this eye. So, and you can see here that this eye is closer to the central line than this eye. So what I would then do is flip my page over like so and draw the rest of the eye in upside down, so it looks more it looks more similar to the other eye. Now you don't have to do this if you feel uncomfortable drawing upside down, but now to me this eye is looking a little more like this one. So I'm just going to erase some of my lines here so I can go in and fix that. So as you can see, my eyes are looking a little bit more the same shape now. So I'm gonna flip this back over. And I'm just going to erase some of these extra lines here that I don't need anymore. I'm just going to fix some of these other lines that I made. So again, you can either use your ruler to make sure you have everything in the right place, or you can flip your page upside down and see if your eyes are in the right place that way. And if you look at yourself in a mirror, or if you look at anyone's eyes, they're never the same. So no one's eyes are completely proportionate to one another. So usually I just, look it over, and if there's things that I want to change, I change it. Like this over here wasn't as rounded as I would like to have it. So I'll just fix that. So the next thing that I do is I draw the eye in right here and this piece in right here. Then that creates your tear duct. Okay, so the next thing that I usually do is I draw in the eye. And again, I do this at the same time so I can roughly judge how big they should be. And also when you go to draw in this part of the eye here, then you can see if one piece or one part of the eye is bigger than the other. The distance between this circle that you've drawn to the bottom of the eye and this circle to the bottom of the eye should be relatively the same. Now this eye to me looks like it has more space back here. So I'll just go ahead and I'll fix that. So now this part right here is pretty similar to this section right here. So it's just making little changes as you go. And again, make sure you keep your lines light so you're able to erase things that you don't necessarily need anymore. Okay. And now inside this circle right here, we're going to draw a smaller circle. And that will be the center of the eye, just like so. And then we're going to do that over here as well. So we have these two, which are the same. So then what I like to do is I like to put some eyelashes on my girls. So without coloring or anything, this is just like a baseline. I usually start here and then I flick off some eyelashes to the side. So I'm going to go up and over. Just like so. Now for the other eye, we're just going to do the exact same thing. We're going to come out and we're going to flick off the eye just like that. And as I said, this is just a baseline of where the eyelashes are going to be. The next thing that I do usually are the lips. And now underneath here, there's going to be the dip of your lip. So we're going to draw a line down to make an arrow. So it's going to look like a boxy arrow. So down, down, and then the same on the other side. Just like so. And then what we're going to do is we are going to make somewhat of a U shape on the bottom of the lip. A U shape on the bottom of the lip, and then we are going to, now it's up to you if you want to have this pointier or not. but we're gonna make a line like so. And then we're gonna do the same thing on that side. So it's almost like you're making somewhat of an M shape. And I like to curve the ends up just a little bit because that, to me, makes it look like my character is smiling just a little. So that's where we are so far. And then underneath, I just draw in a partial line to make the top part of the lip. And then underneath, I start just almost over to the corner of the mouth. And I pull down. And I go to the center and then do the other side the same way. And that's usually how I get the mouth on the girl. Now, right above the, we're going back up to the eyes again. Right above the eye, you have the upper eyelid. And I usually draw that in right about there. Okay, and then above that we have the eyebrow, and usually I position the eyebrow so that it comes straight up and then straight up from the center of the eye. And what I do is I draw down and I go over, and that makes almost like a check mark. And then I take the top and I just drag it over. Now you can put any kind of, and I have to turn my paper here again, you can put any kind of eyebrows on your girl that you choose. Some people like to make them thinner, some people like to make them thicker. With me, it really depends on how I'm feeling. But I always start off with a check mark shape. And that's how I get my eyebrows. And you can see that this eyebrow is not over as far as this one because the top part of the head is not completely oval. So I'm just going to extend that just a little bit. So that's pretty much the face that you're going for. So the next thing that I typically do is I draw in the cheeks. So how I do that is I start up by the side of the eye, up by the eyelid, and I draw down until I get to about the top of the nose, and then I start curving in. And I come to almost a point right underneath, whoops, there goes the camera, right underneath the lip here. And then I do the same thing for the other side. So starting by the eyelid, I draw a straight line down almost to the top of the nose, and then I start curving in. And then I meet back up in the center. So now what I like to do after I draw those lines is I erase all the extra lines from the eyes down. You don't want to erase the top part of the head yet. But to make sure that I'm fully satisfied with the way the shape of the face looks, I usually get rid of all of these extra lines. So you can go ahead and get rid of all of that. Just don't erase any of your lines from your eyebrows up. And that gives you your face. Now I've noticed that this side over here, my face is a little more pointier. That's even a word, pointier. And so I'm going to redraw my shape, my face in. Again, you can just play around with it until you get the shape that you're looking for. So this is the bottom part of my the lower half of the face. Now, when it comes to hair, you can put just about any kind of hair on your character that you can think of. Usually I go on Google and, you know, I'll Google different types of hairstyles. I'll do updos, you know, short haircut, long haircuts. You can pretty much find anything that you're looking for. So I always go on there to look for somewhat of a reference picture, I guess. And there goes my camera again. So we're gonna this one here, I'm gonna do somewhat of an updo kind of funky hairstyle. So I'll show you guys how to do that. Okay, so the next step that I like to do is the hair. And most of my girls, I usually have a side part for the hair. I am trying to come up with different hairstyles, but typically I go back to the same thing. So I try to spice it up just a little bit. So basically, the hairstyle that I'm going to show you guys today, you're going to start over towards the middle of the eye, and you're going to make this initial line right here that's going to sweep right down across the face, and it's going to stop right above the eyebrow here. Okay, so this is just a line to show where the bangs are going to be. And now on the other side, it's, if you want to do, you know, your part and your bangs down here, that's okay too. Usually I go up just a little bit higher, and then I'm gonna come down, and I'm just gonna let that hang there for a second. Now it's up to you if you want your girl to have ears. Sometimes when you're doing hairstyles, you know, the hair will cover the ears and you won't see it. But because I'm going to do more of an updo type look for this character, I'm going to draw the ears in. So basically I start from the upper eyelid here, and I just make a little circle, a little line at the top, bring this down, and then the bottom of the ear comes to the top of the nose. Okay, and then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. And again, if you like, you can use your ruler to make sure that, you know, your lines are all matching up properly. And if you feel that, you know, you've made one ear a little thicker than the other or a little thinner than the other, you just go back in and give that a fix there. So that's the ears on my girl. So the top part of the ears might get covered up again after a while, but you're still going to see the bottom part of the ears, okay? So, excuse me, the next step that we're going to do for the hair, before we get into drawing the hair down at the bottom of the ear, would be to make the hair come up like so. Now this is the top part of the head. If you want your character to have any, we'll call it oomph in the hair, if you want them to have any oomph, you don't want to draw the hair right on top of the head. So you want it to raise above the scalp just a little bit. Okay, so now this is where this part of the hair is gonna end. So for this funky hairstyle, we're gonna come up here to the top of the head just a little bit, right up over the center of the eye. If that's where you'd like to start, that's where I'm going to start. And I'm going to make a backwards C here, and I'm going to join it right into the line that we just created. Now this line right here. I'm going to bring this down. So that it looks like this. Almost like an upside down raindrop, I guess. That might be the best way to put it. I'm just going to fix my lines here. I'm actually going to make this a little bit thinner. Same idea, just a little bit thinner. There we go. Now, instead of using this line right here, I'm going to change my mind here just a little bit. I'm going to take this and I'm going to curve it up like so. Okay, so what I've done is, let's just get rid of this line. So I'm changing my mind here just a little bit. So we have the top part of the hair, and it's going to look like this. So this line is going to, you can draw this line up as far as you want, but I brought it up to the top part of the circle that we previously drew for the top part of the head. So this is going to be just a part of the hair. We're going to draw the bangs back in again in a minute. So this is a side piece of the hair, and this is just curving in like so. So if you haven't been able to figure out, this is the kind of hairstyle where your hair is curled and tucked in on the side. I don't know the name of the hairstyle. I don't know much about hairstyles, to be honest with you. I just like to practice and draw with it. And again, I'm not liking the shape of this, so I'm just going to redraw it just a little bit here. Okay, so that's going to be the first tuck on the side of the head. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start up here. So just above halfway, and I'm going to make another bump in the hair. Now this piece is going to come in and tuck around the top of the ear. So it's going to touch the top of the ear, and then it's going to connect with the first piece that you made. Then the next piece is going to be exactly the same. You just, and then you connect it in. This one is not, they're not as round as they should be. Let's see. Okay. Round. Round. And then we have one just below the ear here. And then we're going to bring another one in. So it's getting close to the base of the neck here. Okay. So now what I like to do for my girls is, the reason why I haven't drawn in the neck yet is because I kind of don't know how I want the neck, if that makes any sense at all. If you've seen any of my work, any of my girls that I draw, I tend to extend the neck a lot longer than it needs to be. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one. So when I draw a neck, I usually start roughly with the corners of the mouth, and I just draw a straight line down like this. Typically, if you were drawing a real human neck, it would come out a little bit further, and it wouldn't be as long. But because this is the style of the girls that I like to draw, this is usually about where I extend the neck. So it'll be just about here, and I'm just going to draw in some shoulders real quick just to have that done. So basically just bring this over, and females tend to have rounder shoulders. So I'm just rounding that out there, like so. I'll change this again in a bit. It's just, I like having it in there just to know where this picture is kind of going. When I go to put some clothes on her, the shape will definitely change. Okay, so that's the shoulders for now. We'll just leave it at that so we can see. Now if you don't want to make the neck as long in your girl, that's completely fine. You can shorten the neck up if you'd like. But this is the way mine's going to look for the time being. So with this last piece of hair, it's usually at the base of the neck. So I just make one more last piece right in there. Okay, and that's going to be the base of the neck. So at the bottom here, I like putting in little extra strands of hair because nobody's hair goes up in a perfect ponytail or a perfect bun or whatever it is you're trying to do. There's always those extra little stray hairs that are just peeking out everywhere. So I just like to, just pick a shape and then draw in a stray hair. And then I can go and add one up in here. And I can put a little curl at the end if I want to. Like so. And then for the other side, let me see here. We're gonna start up here. So this is pretty much the crease. Oops, might want to get in the camera there so you guys can see what I'm doing. So this is the top part of the head here where we drew this piece. So technically this is gonna be the crease of the hair. You won't want to keep this line here, but I'm just showing you where the crease of the hair would be. So the next part of the hair would start here, and we're going to create just a slight bump in the head just to show that the hair is not sitting completely flat on top of the head. And we're going to bring this out and curve it down so that it goes right behind the ear. And that's going to give the side hair, the hair on that side of the head. I can't speak today for whatever reason. Now I don't like how puffy or how poofy I have that side of the hair made, so I'm just gonna make that a little bit smaller. And again, I'm just gonna add a small strand of hair on that side. When you're putting little things in your pictures like these, always do odd numbers. It's more pleasing to the eye. If you have 2 or 1 and 2, it just, to me, it just doesn't, your eyes to me, it's like your eye is kind of drawn to one area and that's what you focus on, is just right here. See, if this wasn't here, that's what you'd get, but you put a second one or a third one in, and it's like, oh, it kind of mends or melds the picture together better. I don't know, that's just my little blurb, I guess. Because the top part of the head seems a little bit flat to me because of all the poofiness over here, I'm just gonna raise this up just a little bit. Okay? So that's what we're going to do there. I'm just going to erase these lines so they don't confuse you. Okay, so that's that part. Now we need to draw the bangs in down here because we don't want to just leave her hair looking like that, right? Oh, have a bit of static or something going on my desk today. Everything is sticking together. So for this, I usually bring that piece over like so, because this is going to be the part of the hair, and that's part of the bang, just like so. And I'm just going to bring this piece over like this, and I'm going to start midway up. And finish creating her bangs just like that. Now you can put little shapes in the hair. Let's see. To help make it stand out a little better. So after we get that drawn in, we're going to go up and erase those lines at the top of the head that helped you define where the hair was going to be. Okay, so the other thing that I like doing is just as a guideline to me and to make it look like there's more dimension. Oh, my lip is starting to disappear here. That's the downside to using a light pencil, is if your hand continuously rubs over your picture, then you end up losing your lines after a while. So you need to be very careful with that. And I should have told you that at the beginning. Just redrawing my lines in here so I don't lose them. So I'm just gonna lighten this line up here a little bit because we don't really want this line here to be too dark. So what I usually do is I just draw some little lines that you can't see. Let's try that again. Let's draw them in a little bit darker. I usually put in, there we go, now you can see. Put in these little lines in the hair to help me decide where highlights and everything are gonna be. There we go. And then I do the same thing on the other side. So I just drew in some tiny lines up in there just like that. You probably, when I get ready to color this page in, or this character in, you probably won't see as many of those lines. And I'll typically put them back in with whatever color I'm using in the hair. I put them there for myself as guidelines to let me know where I would like to have the highlights in the hair. Okay? So now with the clothes. So since she has it updo, we're gonna assume, I'm gonna make the shoulder here a little bit smaller. We're gonna assume that she is going to a party and she's wearing a dress. So if, you know, you can reference pictures on Google of different styles of dresses that you'd like, or if you're familiar with drawing drawing dresses, you can, go ahead and make up your own. Sorry, I'm just drawing in my lines here again because they're all fading away on me. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put a dress on her, and she is, because it doesn't have to be too detailed, you can only see this much of her. You're not really going to see much of the chest area. I am going to put a side strap on for a dress. Now if you want, you can do both sides. And then you're going to want to bring the strap up just above the line of the shoulder to make it look like there's something three-dimensional on her shoulder. So I'm just going to fix my lines here. So you want to make it look like the straps of the dress are resting on top of the shoulders. So the lines for the strap on the dress are going to be, they're going to be slightly, oh, there we go, slightly above the line. You see that? I don't know what is up with my camera today. Now as you can see, I have a bit of a mistake made here because this is obviously over a lot further than it needs to be. So I'm just going to fix that. Everything is fixable. Just going to draw that over there. Just trying to figure out which strap on the dress I like more, and I think I like the thinner one more. Just going to make that a little thinner. Now the arms are probably going to start right about here. So you're probably going to see a little bit of the cleavage area. And I like to draw in where you would see your collarbone. You don't want to make these lines too dark though, because you don't want them to stand out. These are more or less for if you guidelines for when you're coloring or painting your picture, then you'll know this is a darker shade of your skin tone will go in this area. And you can also just draw in a little dip in the neck here too as well if you'd like. Again, that's an optional part that you don't have to put in if you don't want to. And because I don't want it to look like her chest is hanging out of her dress, I'm going to curve in the bottom parts here just slightly to make it look like that's going to be the neck of the dress. That's going to be coming down right here. Just fixing up my lines here. And just get things looking the way that the way that you want them to look. Sometimes I get way too picky with my work and I erase and I erase and I erase. And I get to the point where I can't erase anymore because I've ruined my paper. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Okay, so this is what we have. And again, I'm just going in and darkening up my lines. So that is basically how I get from point A of drawing a circle to point B, I guess, of having an entire character. So if I were to continue on with this girl, to add in a background, it's kind of a little dull at the moment because she's just on the page. Now, if you didn't want to put a background in, like an extensive background, you could, cut your picture smaller, and then you just have like a top portrait. Or if you want to get creative, you can give your girl wings. I tend to add a lot of wings to my fairies. Well, I draw fairies mostly, but I usually add, what I'm trying to say here is that I like to add wings to my girls. Getting a little tongue-tied here again this morning. So, and it is morning that I'm creating this video. It is very early in the morning and it is very cold outside today here in northern Manitoba. Let's see. Okay, so what I was getting at is I like to add wings to my characters. So wings of any shape, any size, any color, it's completely up to you what you want to do. But basically, I usually start from the center. Again, you can use your ruler if you like. The center of the character. And that's where I base my wing from. You don't want to draw your wing. Well, you could draw your wing down here if you wanted lower wings. But typically, if you're drawing a girl with big butterfly wings or big fairy wings, they tend to start and they tend to come up above the eye. So I try to visualize that the wing is going to start down here, but on her back. And I visually draw the line up through, and I come up here in the background with the top of the wing. Now the side of the wing, you can make any shape that you want. Let's do it like this. So this is going to be the top of my wing right here, and I'm just going to put a line in here to show that there is a bottom part to the wing, but of course you can't see it because we don't have enough room on the paper. So now the trick is to get this side to look like this side. That's where I always have the most trouble. So I'm going to show you a little trick that I've picked up. Okay? Okay, so what I do when I want my wings to be as perfect as I can get, I get myself some tracing paper. Put the tracing paper down just like so. Now if you want to create your lines in here beforehand, you can. How about we'll do that so it makes it easier on you guys. So to decorate your butterfly wing, so we'll put the tracing paper aside. If you're comfortable with drawing both sides by yourself without having any help, go right ahead. Or if you don't mind your wings being a little off center, go ahead, do your thing. But this is what I tend to do if I'm doing this kind of a character. So I'm gonna decide how I want my wing, and usually I do it like a regular butterfly wing, and I have this outside edge. It's mostly black. So I draw down along like so. And then when I get to the bottom, I start to taper off and do it a little bit smaller again. Now if you were able to see this line coming down here and coming all the way down to the center, all the way, you would see that this tapers off into a thin line as well. So that's why I have it a little bit thinner in this area, a little bit thinner in this area than the rest, and then thin down here. Now I do the same thing with the bottom part. Even though you can't really see a whole lot of it, I like to draw a line in to make it look like there's more to it than what you can see. So now with this part of the wing, I just tend to follow the lines on the outside. And again, I visualize where my shapes are going, because you can't really see behind your fairy. So this is going to come down, and then when this comes down, it's going to meet, and then behind her neck here, so to speak, this is going to meet up with the other piece. Okay? And I typically draw a line up like so. And I do the same thing for this piece. And then I just keep going. Just drawing basic shapes. And you can always fill these sections in later. But just to get the basic shape going here, we'll do this. And again, I have to turn my paper here because I can't draw on an angle. So basically, when you get all the way down to the center, these are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until the last one meets up down here behind her back. Just like so. So I tend to keep the shapes in my inside the wings fairly simple, because I like to add a lot of color inside the wing, and that to me makes up for not having a lot of detail. Now if you want to go and add more detail into this, you definitely can. Like you can go inside here and make smaller lines and small, like you can continue making the same shape over and over and over again inside here if you wanted to. But for now, this works for me. Okay, so now we're not going to do anything with this little space down here, because you can't really see much of anything down there anyway. So what we're going to do now is bring back in the tracing paper and put this on here. Now what I'm going to do is use my mechanical pencil, because the lead's a little bit thicker and heavier in this one, so it's an HB and this is a 4, and you'll see why I did that when I get this traced. So this is just a little cheat, so to speak. So I'm going to pretend that I can see the rest of my wing now. Okay, see that? So this is going to be, and I'm just going to continue to draw this onto the tracing paper. If you use a heavier, thicker pencil, it will do better. And you'll see why in just a moment. Now some of you may already have this technique down already if you've taken other classes, or if you've figured this out on your own, that's great. So I'm just drawing my lines in a little bit extra heavy. Now with this, I have to pretend that I can see the rest of my line. So right here, I'm not worried about the shape of the hair. I'm just worried about getting the outline of the wing drawn onto the tracing paper. And again, we're going to come down here and you're going to see the whole shape of the wing. Now I'm changing the shape of my wing here just slightly so I can see it better, and I'll show you what I did in just a moment. So you're going to trace all this out nice and dark. And don't forget the bottom part of your wing down here. I'm going to get that in there as well. So here, if you look closely, let's see if I can't get this in. There we go. So right here behind the paper, you can see there's another line right here. Now this is where I created this portion of the wing, but it didn't curve enough, so I'm curving it down. And you see now this bottom piece here, if you were to see it all, would look like that. But you don't see this part because it's behind the shoulder, so you don't really have to worry. But this is basically the shape of the wing. Now if you feel comfortable and you want to go ahead and draw the wing on your paper, your tracing paper first, before you even put it on the picture that you're creating, that's completely fine too. So now the trick is to pull this piece off. I'm going to zoom back out again. I hope I'm not making anybody sick here. I'm going to flip this paper over. And I am going to line up the line that I created for the chest area. I'm just going to draw in part of the face there so I can So now just match the other side up as best as you can. Like the bottom part of the wings right here are going to come in line with your shoulder. And I find that this technique kind of gets me closer to where I need to be. And again, you can bring in your ruler if you have to, if you want to make sure that, you know, your lines are in the right place. Now this is going to look a little bit different on the other side because you don't have this big poofy hair. So you have to imagine that this big poofy hair is over there as well. Okay, so I'm going to match this up with the bottom part the way it's over here, and you can't see what I'm doing because my there we go. I need to get a better camera set up. That's what I need. So we're going to pretend that this big poofy hair is coming out here and wrapping down around. So you're going to see a little bit more of the wing on this side. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my harder pencil again. You can continue with the same pencil if you'd like. And because the graphite is on the other side of your tracing paper, it's going to act like carbon paper. It should. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and press lightly everywhere that I have graphite on the other side of the paper. And I'll just show you here if you can. Gonna zoom in. You can see that it's creating a line on the paper here, exactly where you need it to go. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish drawing in all of these lines. And as I said, make sure you don't move your paper like I just did. Now my wing is probably going to be crooked anyway. Get everywhere that you drew on the opposite side. Now don't go in past the hair. You don't want to continue making the mistake and draw the wing onto the face, so you want to stop there at the hair. Now this is where you're going to have to be a little bit careful when you get down into the neck area. You want to make sure the wing is still ending where it's supposed to end. And if you have some hair drawn here, you don't want the wing to go through the hair, because technically the wing is behind that piece of hair. Just continue to draw over everything. Now you still may have to go and fix your lines just a little bit after you get this done, but at least you have a base idea of where your lines are supposed to go. So again, make sure you stop at the neck, stop at the shoulders, and I'm going to pull this off and see what I got. And there you go. We have the other side of the wing. And it is pretty closely matched up. It's, if you drew it just by looking at the paper, and you probably would have ended up with this part of the wing down here, this part of the wing up there, unless you really want to get precise with your ruler. And quite honestly, I don't have time for that, or I don't have the patience for that. So I have no patience, and literally no patience. I'm not even joking. So what I like to do afterwards is go back in and draw this in like so. So I'm just touching up my lines here, making them darker where they should be. And I missed a line right here, so I'm going to draw that in. And like I said, you can use this technique with just about anything that you're doing. So now I'm just drawing my lines in a little bit darker here, because I know these are the lines that I want to keep. So I don't mind making these a little bit darker. Throughout your picture, if you know that you have something that's going to stay exactly where it is, you don't want to change it anymore, you can draw your lines in just a smidgen darker. And there you have it.